So in this video, I want to talk about failure. And when I was researching about failure, I saw there was a lot of content on the internet that talks about how to deal with failure. There are multiple steps outlined that one can follow. But in this video, I'm not going to do that because I truly believe that first thing we need to do is we need to understand failure correctly. And then based on that understanding, we need to build our own approach, and that approach can cater us. So in this video, all I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss and talk about how I think or what I understand failure is. And maybe this can help you to build your own understanding about failure and then help you build your own approach towards dealing with the failure. So before I jump into how I think failure works, let's quickly understand what failure means in simple terms. A failure is our inability to accomplish something or achieve something that we really want to achieve. And when we experience failure multiple times, we can experience a lot of negative emotions that will hold us back. And as a result, our self-confidence can take a serious hit. And in those situations, reaching success point becomes really difficult. So how I think failure works, I'm going to explain it with a simple example. Let's say you get up one day and then you look yourself in the mirror and then you realize that you have gained a lot of weight. You're not happy with the way you look because your body is going completely out of shape. And now you've decided that you are going to do whatever it takes to lose this weight. And eventually you come up with a plan where you are going to change your diet and you are going to switch to a low carb diet, and also you're going to build a fitness regime where maybe you'll go for a workout or maybe you'll go for a run, and you would try to run 5 kilometers every single day, and eventually if you continue to do that you would lose weight. So here you've created your goal as losing weight, and then you have built a plan where you would follow a low carb diet and you would run 5 kilometers every day. On the very first day of your plan, you get up early in the morning before work, and then you try to go out for a run, and then you try to run 5 kilometers as per your plan. But since it's the very first day and it'll be a big stretch for your body, you were not able to run 5 kilometers. And let's say you were able to do only 2. So you come back, you are still very highly motivated because it's the very first day. So you continue with the diet and then you continue with the day activities, and the second day comes. Early morning, again you try to go out for a run, and then you try to run 5 kilometers. But since it's the second day and it's still a big stretch, you were not able to do 5. But since you ran on the day 1 and this is the second day, you were able to do 2.5 kilometers today. You came back, you're still very highly motivated, you continued with the day, and then the day 3 comes. You again get up, you go for a run, you again try to do 5 kilometers, but again 5 kilometers is still a big stretch for day 3. So you were not able to do 5 kilometers, but you were able to do better than before, and let's say you did 3 kilometers. And then you come back and then you realize that every single day you were not able to meet your goal of running 5 kilometers. And then now you're feeling that you're losing that motivation because you're thinking that every single day you're failing, which is not incorrect to feel, because technically yes, you are failing, you're not able to reach your goal, and then you end up failing every single day. But here, from a different perspective, if you look, we are running 0.5 kilometers more every single day. Day 1 it was 2, day 2 it was 2.5, and day 3 it was 3. So every single day, slowly we are moving one step closer to 5 kilometers, which is our goal. And that's how I think failure works. Failure is not an end result where one day you get up, you try to do 5 kilometers, and then you were not able to do it, so you come back, you failed. Instead, to me, failure is a part of the process where every single time I fail, I'm failing and I'm getting one step closer to the goal. Every day, 0.5 kilometers more than the previous day. All we need to do is we need to continue moving forward, continue and go through those failures, because every failure is getting us closer to our goal. And if we continue to do that with persistence, one day it is going to be 5 kilometers in one particular day. The next I want to talk about is fear of failure. When I was in my early 20s, I realized that a lot of decisions that I had were driven by fear of failure. I was doing my engineering, and towards the end, I wanted to get a job because I thought to myself that if I fail to get a job, everybody would start thinking less of me. The society, the friends, and the family would start questioning my capabilities. They would call me a failure, and then I would not be admired. And I believe we all secretly love to be admired. We all want to be that role model where everybody's looking up to us. They're trying to understand our journey and they're trying to follow our footsteps to the success. But public display of failure seems to be working against that. And that creates a lot of fear. So one thing is to achieve and experience multiple failures on that journey and then dealing with those negative emotions. And the second additional pressure is to deal with the society, is to deal with fear of failure and what would happen and what would people think if in case we have failed. And I think that's a pressure that we don't even need. So I thought to myself, what can I do to reduce this pressure? And first I thought that maybe I should not be this driven. Maybe I should compromise with my visions and should not be this much driven, should not be this much focused to achieve something so that I won't feel bad. But then I realized that I'm not the person who would compromise on my visions, and I didn't want to. But then I thought maybe I can be that person who would stop caring about what others think of me. If I've succeeded, if I've failed, maybe I would stop caring about that. Maybe I would stop caring about what society is thinking of me. And since then, I've tried to cultivate this thought in my head. And one thing I've realized after practicing this, that this has freed up a lot of space in my head. And the space now that I can use towards my goal, which is helping me achieve my goals even faster. And if along that journey I am failing multiple times, so be it. That's just my part. That's my process. I'm not going to care about what others think of me. And this thought has significantly reduced the fear of failure in my head. And then I've started taking failure in a different way. But one thing I would also like to highlight that we live in a very complex world where ignoring or not caring about what others think is very hard to do because all these noises are around us constantly. But if we are able to somehow incorporate this in our head, it is indeed rewarding. So, in our lifetime, we can have different types of goals. And these goals could be getting a dream house, or getting a dream job, or building our own business. And when we have these goals and when we try to achieve them, along the journey, we can experience multiple failures. And as I mentioned in the earlier section of this video, those failures can bring a lot of negative emotions and our self confidence can take a serious hit. In those situations, it can often feel like that we are stuck in a mud where the more we try to get out, the deeper we sink in. And the deeper we sink in, the more we panic, and it goes on and on. And in those moments, especially when I'm in those moments, if somebody comes and tells me that, hey, you know what? This is a failure, this is a good thing, it's a learning opportunity, you should look at this positively. I usually think to myself, like, what the hell are you talking about? Only I know what I'm going through. It is really hard to continue doing what I'm doing right now. And in that moment, you're asking me to look at this positively. Well, that's not happening. So, one thing we need to also remember, and I remind myself as well, that the failures that we are experiencing in those moments are temporary failures. They're not permanent failures because they're not going to be there forever. The situation is going to change. A permanent failure would be us giving up, where we would say, you know what, now we have understood that we don't have what it takes to get out of this mud and we're not even going to try. And that is permanent failure. But temporary failures is something that we are experiencing along the journey and it's not going to be there forever. One more thing that I remind myself when I'm in these situations that really, really helps me is by reminding myself of the success stories of the people I really like or people I really admire. One of those peoples I can mention here today is Henry Ford. I was reading about Henry Ford, where how many times his how many times he failed before starting Ford Motors. His initial ventures were not successful, or at least they were not success to him. And then finally, he ended up founding Ford Motors Company, which redefined the automobile industry, and it made a car affordable for everyone. So hopefully, this video can help you build your own understanding towards failures. If you like the content of this video, please don't forget to subscribe and like this channel so that I can continue to make this content. And thank you so much for watching this video.